Behind me, the Pałac pod Blachą here in Warsaw. This is the home of Prince Józef Poniatowski. His home, the place where he had his famous parties, also the War Office. Who was Józef Poniatowski? He was in fact a major figure in Polish history. Patriot, general, Minister of War, sometime Marshal of France. Join me in this episode of Poland Daily History, where we learn more about this remarkable Polish figure.
If I could just finish that sentence, because then we'll forget it. He was given a supervisor in the person of Marshal Davout, one of his best marshals, the one that was the author of the great victory of Auerstadt, which actually was more important for in defeating Prussia than Vienna, but that's another topic. He was placed as a nanny, let's say, over Prince Joseph.
Make sure he didn't do anything untoward.
Yes, but Prince Joseph, and initially Davout was very skeptical about Prince Joseph, also because other generals who disliked Poniatowski, like Zajączek, for example, were intriguing against him. Yeah. But he soon realized that this guy is really good. I mean, that the ministry is functioning properly, and so on and so on. That the army is raising in terms of numbers, and in, correct me if I'm wrong, late summer 1808, so 1 year after the creation of the Duchy of Warsaw, he left Poland.
Yes.
Leaving Prince Joseph in charge, do his work.
He demonstrated to the French he could be trusted.
He could be. And then, of course, the campaign of 1809 was a solid proof for Napoleon that this guy is really good, that he can be in charge of an army.
Could we say a few words about the 1809 campaign itself, where it took place, who Poniatowski was actually fighting?
Poniatowski was fighting an army, Austrian army that was around 30,000 men strong. Now, the Polish army was a bit weaker, so we were outnumbered, but there was a Saxon corps, auxiliary corps.
Right.
But these guys were unsure. No, Germans on one side, Germans on the other. Of course, there is no one German nation at that time,
Not
but
at that
still,
time, no, yes.
But still, I mean, these guys were untrustworthy, simply, initially, when the Austrians entered Poland, the frontier was on the river Pilica.
Right.
And they marched very quickly, unstopped, until Russian. That's a small village next to Warsaw. Nowadays, outskirts of Warsaw.
Exactly, yes.
That's where two main roads leading to Warsaw are merging. One from Katowice,
Yep.
and the other from Kraków.
Okay, yes.
And there is why this place, not for example Janki, which is where you have IKEA nowadays. Why Russian? Because this place has a very narrow passage, easy to protect, and say swamps on the left and on the right.
Which make it very difficult to move.
But easy to defend, and that's why he chose that place.
And he won, didn't he?
Again, the Austrians had more victims than the Polish side. But if we take the things classically and say that the winner is the one who captures the place, the Austrians were but with heavy losses and with bad morale, because they were prepared, they were expecting an easy victory,
And they didn't get it.
and they didn't get it. And in the aftermath, they entered Warsaw. It's very funny because when you look at the Polish press of that time, you see as in April 1809, immediately, overnight, the press that was published in Polish, now it's published in German, and of course very anti-Napoleonic in context.
Of course, yes. So after that, what happened next in that campaign?
And Prince Joseph, that was that was his idea, to leave Warsaw, abandon Warsaw, which was very risky, as we talked about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And to move because we are Warsaw, like the part of Warsaw, the historical part of Warsaw is on the left bank.
That's right.
Of the river. On the right bank, of course, nowadays it is Warsaw too, but at that time it was a small village, or maybe not small, but a village called Praga.
That's right.
So moved to Praga to start his march to the heart of before partitions that was Poland, but at that time it was already Austria, into the heart of Austria. So to counter, in a sense, to flank the Austrian army and to force the army that was already in Warsaw to
sort of follow him.
To follow him.
And was he successful?
And that was successful because the Austrians left Warsaw after a couple of weeks, didn't manage to stop Prince Joseph, who was successfely reconquering major Polish cities, Sandomierz, for example.
Yes.
And finally, and they even for a certain period of time they even entered Lviv, Lemberg.
They got as far as that.
And of course Kraków. So that was very successful. Something that was supposed to be an easy victory, a piece of cake for the Austrians, turned out to be
not quite as digestible as they'd hoped.
Exactly, not quite digestible. And it was also, I'm coming back to these psychological aspects, but it was very important for the young Polish army that was established only a year before, 2 years before, to have such a victory. I mean, it makes the spirit, esprit de corps.
And then shortly afterwards, Józef Poniatowski returned to Warsaw.
And then he returned to Warsaw.
Well, we heard earlier he started his main work as the Minister of Defense and generally preparing
a very big army for the upcoming war against Russia. I mean, you have to remember that this country was very small, even after the augmentation.
No, yes, compared to what it had been before.
It was only 4 million people.
Yeah.
And this society managed to produce as it were, an army of 120,000-130,000 people. So it was an enormous effort.